Fermin Aldeguer was the success story of the Moto2 European Championship last season, and last year's title winner has already established himself as a front-runner in the World Championship by taking a pole position as a 16-year-old superstar and waiting at the Argentine Grand Prix. Coming into this season, Alonso Lopez was expected to be the rider to challenge for the championship, but the Spaniard is already moved up to the Moto2 World Championship, so this season looks absolutely wide open. In the Moto2 class this year, we're going to have Triumph triple-cylinder machines, we're going to have the Honda 600 engine, and we're also going to be having the stock 600 machinery once again this season. Welcome back to Estoril. Steve English and Kiko Giles bringing the action for the Moto2 European Championship. And Kiko, this championship does look wide open this year with lots of variety in terms of machinery at the front of the field and lots of riders out there trying to make themselves have that opportunity to move up into the World Championship.
Whilst we've got familiar faces, Steve, we've got some fresh faces as well. We'll get to them when we get to the grid. But Lucas Tulovich is a bit of a pole hound here at Estoril. Third one for him, his third of his career. All three of them coming here at Estoril. He starts the season as he means to go on. He's chasing that first victory that for so long has eluded him. But there's plenty more where that has come from. You've got new riders. Senna Aegis is there. Peter Beerkerski's back here as well. Xavi Cardaluz, you can't discount him. And Tabasco Marcon as well from the Moto2 paddock. This is what happened last year. It was really a duel between the two Bosco Scuros. It was about Fermin Aldeguer and Alonso Lopez. Here at Estoril is where the season began, and it really was a dramatic start. Tulovich crashed out of contention early on, but it was Aldeguer who took a dominant double with two last lap fights. Valencia was more of the same. Kevin Kubo was crashing out there, but Aldeguer just kept charging forward, getting ahead of everyone. Dramatic stuff further back. But Aldeguer didn't care about that because he was already leading and battling away at Portimao. His teammate, this sensational move resulted in contact. Somehow they both kept it upright and kept the mutual respect in the team. Alonso Lopez waved goodbye to the title race when Fermin Aldeguer just kept going. 9-10 straight wins come the round at Jerez in the height of summer in August gave him the trophy. He's moved on though. 2022 is a land of opportunity. Sunny skies at Estoril, and the most important thing of all is that the racing is back. We've seen a European Talent Cup race of dreams for some riders, especially Joel Esteban, given he dominated. But track temperature is up. It's 39 degrees, 29 degrees air temperature. That's about 5 degrees more than what it was when we arrived at the circuit at the crack of dawn this morning. It's greasy out there. Expect drama in this Moto2 race, the first of two on today's billing.
Yeah, 18 laps of action here in Estoril, and Kiko, a lot of variety now in terms of the machinery in the Moto2 European Championship.
Yeah, you've got the Honda engines who are still out there, you've got Yamaha stock engines as well, but the most important of all is that the Triumph that has been in the Moto2 World Championship now since 2019 has found its way down here in the CV Moto2 European Championship, and that is quite something here in the Junior GP paddock because it means there's a little bit of variety, arguably for the first time in terms of engine spec on a major scale. On top of that, you've got MV Agusta back and Lucas Tulovich back on pole.
Yeah, it's fantastic to start the season in this way. I mean, we did a fantastic job with the team, with a new bike for this season in pre-season testing, so we had a really good direction and base of the setting with the bike. So I have to say huge thank you to my team, to my sponsors, to my family, to my trainer. We worked really hard this winter to reach this level, and now we have to confirm it tomorrow in the race.
Lucas Tulovich there taking a look at the rear of his number 3 machine. Certainly it looks like the view that a lot of riders are going to get through the course of today's action. 18 laps for these Moto2 riders. They got 2 races. Tulovich gets 2 opportunities to finally claim his first race victory. He has 9 podium finishes in the Moto2 European Championship. Is today the day, Kiko, that he finally claims a race victory?
You'd hope that he celebrates 10 podium finishes on the top step of the rostrum, but as we have seen in years gone by, Estoril is a happy hunting ground for Tulovich. He was pole here last year, pole here 5 years ago, still not in the top 2 in a race at the end. Surely today's going to be his day.
Yeah, this could well be that opportunity for the German rider. He's got a lot of experience in this class. The same can't be said for the rider second on the grid, though. Senna Agius able to step up from the Moto3 class to the Moto2 European Championship. He'll be seen in a few moments' time. He's clearly just taken a little bit of a break on the grid. Peter Beerkerski, though, he hasn't taken a break. He's been very busy over the last few years, Kiko. A little bit of double jobbing in the European and the World Championship. A lot of experience on Moto2 machinery.
Yeah, and a good variety of it as well. He's been all over the place. I was on NTS machinery at one point. He's been on Calyx machinery, which is where he finds himself this year. Here in the junior, in the European Championship for Moto2. And really, first front row for Beerkerski, starting the season relatively well. And we said it's a land of opportunity this year. We don't really know who's going to come to fruition and come to the fore.
Well, coming to the fore, Senna Agius, 16 years of age, steps up from the Moto3 class. 16 sounds very young for a Moto2 rider, Kiko. Wasn't too bad for Fermin Aldeguer.
Worked out well there, and really from the front row in his debut, it's funny really, Australian riders, you think to Remy Gardner always said to go to feel more comfortable on the bike, they always ask for more power. And it seems to be working again for the rider from New South Wales here. Middle of the front row, debut front row. Surely a win is what he's going to be looking at.
Yeah, dirt tracking always does help for those Aussie riders to get used to that power. Xavi Cardelus, 4th on the grid, able to take advantage of a penalty for Hector Garzo, who had been 4th after the qualifying session. Hector given a penalty for cruising in various sectors during the course of the action so far this weekend. But Xavi, he's only 23, but he's the elder statesman of this class.
He's got experience in this class, and not just here, like Beerkerski, at the top level. He's been a world championship rider, and it has been flashes of brilliance, of points and bits of hope, but here is where he's looked the most competitive. And Cardelus will be going from the front of that second row.
Yeah, you can see Tommaso Marcon now. Last year he raced for MV in the Moto2 World Championship, and before that he also raced here for 2 years in the Junior GP paddock as well, with 5 podium finishes in his 22 starts. Questionable with the top knot there, Kiko.
I can't comment on anybody's hair, but I saw you doing yours like that this morning.
I wish I could do mine like that.
Tommaso Marcon, middle of the second row. In Moto2 European Championship here this year. Coming from Moto E, so he's got a bit of World Championship paddock experience, and hopefully starting 5th, he's going to be right there.
Alex Skrieg now on the outside of the second row with the grid, and Alex steps up to Moto2 machinery for the first time, having been in the stock class for the last few years. He's a talented rider, a former Red Bull Rookies podium finisher.
Yeah, you get the feeling that Skrieg's just got to kind of find his way, not going through the smaller classes first. Isn't everybody's suited way to get to where they want to be, which is back in the World Championship. So for a Skrieg, he's just got to keep plugging away, and he started well this year, 6th place for the Yamaha Philippines Styler bike outfit.
Yeah, and really has been a good start to the season for them. We'll wait and see what Alex is able to do. I'm interested to see how these riders that make the step from stock 600 machinery onto a Moto2 bike do. Obviously, Fermin Aldeguer able to do that last year with a lot of success. This is Alex Toledo, and last year he was one of the riders that stepped up from the stock class, and he had some good results, 2 top 6 finishes.
Don't forget, he's one of the riders who battled very hard with Fermin Aldeguer in 2020 for the stock class championship. So keep an eye out for Toledo. Had a bit of a drama yesterday in qualifying, but he's all okay now. Lines up in the middle of that third row.
Yeah, and for Toledo able to take advantage of a penalty for Sam Wilford, another rider caught cruising, and Sam, who had qualified 8th, he's going to start from 29th on the grid after his penalty. This is Matteo Ratto, and the 17-year-old from pretty close to Monza. He's got a lot of experience though in the Moto2 class, 23 starts under his belt and a couple of top 5 finishes, Kiko.
Yeah, he's been around now for a couple of years, and he's been making steady progress. Good, solid 7th place on the grid for this one, and he will be one to look out for. Looking for that first top 5 of the season to start as he means to go on. He can be a top 5 runner consistently, hopefully, this year.
Yeah, and that third row of the grid start gives him a real opportunity to be able to do that as well. But certainly on the outside of that third row of the grid, this is a rider worth keeping an eye on. Roberto Garcia. Last year, he stepped up from the ETC onto a stock Yamaha at Valencia and was able to finish inside the top 5. Let's wait and see what he can do over a full season in Moto2 machinery.
Very exciting prospect, the number 31 of Garcia. Be very, very interesting to see how he adapts. But don't forget, of course, Moto2 this year, as we've said, Steve, it is a bit open. So hopefully, with it being open, we see these riders make the steps, not just on track, but in terms of results too.
Yeah, and certainly for Miguel Pons, he's a rider that has been able to step up and make some good results at different times in the past. He has 2 Moto2 podiums in the European Championship before he journeyed off in a lot of different classes. He's been in World Supersport, he's been in the Moto2 World Cup. He's actually a race winner in the Moto2 World Cup, so he's a talented rider. Very talented rider, and he's right there, top 10 in qualifying overall for the H43 Team Nobby outfit. And really, Mikel Pons has been one of the riders to keep an eye out for, as is Yair Ruiz. Yeah, Yair Ruiz, of course, he started his season by winning the opening race of the Yamaha R3 Blue Crew European Cup that supports the World SBK paddock, and he's now kind of trying to see if he's able to adapt as well onto a much bigger machine than the stock R3 bike. Bit of World Supersport 300 experience as well last year, Steve, at Jerez, if I remember correctly. So Ruiz has got that experience, and he's got the team around him as well this year. So starting from 11th, not bad at all. Yeah, this is Alex Tagliarini, and for Alex, he's on that Boscoscuro bike, and he raced in the ETC and also in CEV's Junior World Championship a couple of years ago, and now he makes his Moto2 debut. He makes his Moto2 debut, and it's not the conventional bike that you'd assume to do it on. If you look at the World Championship, of course. If you look at last year, it was bike to beat. They didn't lose a race yet last year, the Boscoscuro outfit. Yeah, certainly we saw last year just how strong it could be. Alonso Lopez doing a really good job on that bike to back up Fermin Aldeguer as well. This is Eduardo Montero, and for Eduardo, he's going to start 13th on the grid on that Kiefer Moto2 machine. Yeah, and he's on a KTM slightly out of sync with what we have seen before in this class. We've not seen many KTMs in the European Moto2 Championship, but he is here and he is on the KTM. And like we said at the top of this show, Steve, it is great to have a bit more variety in this class. We've needed it in the last couple of years. Yeah, tons of variety in this class now, and it's really good to see, because that's what you need in the Moto2 European Championship. You want to see riders able to adapt to new machinery, adapt to the surroundings, see if they're able to take on the established stars. Lucas Tulovich is the established star. He's going to start from pole position. Steve English and Kiko Giles here in Estoril to bring you through the opening race of the 2022 Moto2 European Championship. This season sees a major shake-up of the regulations for the Moto2 class with the long-awaited arrival of the Triumph triple-cylinder machines that have been in the World Championship action for the last couple of years. So we have Triumph triples, we have Honda 4-cylinders, and we've got stock machinery all the way through this grid. Kiko, there's a lot for us to talk about in the Moto2 class this year, and that hasn't always been the case. That hasn't always been the case, but let's hope primarily that the racing's a lot closer at the front, because we've needed it. There has been good points last year with Alonso Lopez and Fermin Aldeguer going head-to-head for the title, but really this year could be the year we get a big title fight in Moto2. Let's see how it unfolds. Going through the grid, lots and lots of big names right the way through. We'll get to them there, including on row 10. There's two of the big names to watch out for. Hector Garzo with the MV Augusta. He's coming back from the Moto2 World Championship. And Sam Wilford, penalty. He would have been inside the top 10 on the grid originally. Starts from 29th. Big Bad Wolf. He's going to have to be a big bad wolf coming through the field if he's to get into the points in the top 10 this time around. Yeah, keep an eye on the 35 to see what Wilford's able to do. But that number 4 machine, Hector Garzo on the MV Augusta, it's great to have them in the paddock as well. It really is. And it's not, again, it's nice to have another manufacturer trying to take it to the Calex and to the Boscoscuros. We say that, and Garzo is expected to be a front runner as well, so hopefully not just the representation on the grid, but representation at the front of the field as well. Yeah, and Hector Garzo, one of the few race winners in this class. A lot of riders trying to get out there to claim their first race victories, especially the likes of our pole sitter Lucas Tulovich. And for Lucas, this is a massive opportunity for him to be able to try and see if he's able to claim his first race victory, because Kiko, it's a big challenge for him. He's a rider that's been able to claim 9 podium finishes. He's had a few pole positions here in Estoril before, but he's still awaiting that first race victory.
It's quite remarkable, Steve, when you look at his stats, just how much he is waiting for a first victory. Come back to that in a moment. Air temperature has just tipped into 30 degrees. Track temperature now is at 40. It's the start of May here in Portugal. It is warm here.
Yeah, I have to say, Kiko, I'm not envious of you having to go down to the Park Ferme interviews, jeans and a shirt in this weather. It's certainly a lot nicer here in the air-conditioned commentary box. But for these riders out on track, 18 laps of Moto2 action. This is a big challenge for them in these conditions, getting hotter and hotter. We obviously know that the Dunlop tyres, the exact same as what we have in the World Championship. We know that they can deal with these temperatures, but once you're into these high temperatures, it is a real challenge out there.
And it's only midday, Steve. I've got to go down there 4 more times by the end of this, but no, it is only midday. It's 12 o'clock, just coming up to 12 o'clock here, local time in Estoril. It is very warm. We've been here all weekend, and it's the warmest it has been. It has rarely tipped up to anywhere near 30. It's been 24, 25, but that 5 degrees difference made a massive difference in the ETC race that we saw a moment ago. It's going to make a huge difference to this Moto2. Maybe we're going to see an upset, Steve. We don't know this year.
Yeah, we obviously saw in the ETC race that the track conditions very greasy out there, very easy to make a mistake. We saw a lot of the front runners making mistakes. Are we going to see mistakes from the front runners today? Lucas Tulovich on the number 3 machine, claiming another pole position, trying to claim his first race victory. He knows that he needs to be incident free all the way through this race, but he's also up against the 81 of Senna Agius as well, and Senna done a really good job so far this weekend.
On Tulovich, he made a mistake at Estoril last year, lost the podium, crashed high-sided out turn 7. He will be hoping for not a repeat of that. Great to see the fans back as well, Steve, here at Estoril. We're back to normality.
Yeah, and certainly normal course of action for the Moto2 European Championship is that consistency is key. Any mistakes you make early in the season are punished heavily. So for Lucas Tulovich, he wants to avoid making the same mistake he made last year. We wait for the red lights to come on for the opening race of the 2022 Moto2 European Championship. And we've got a full field of 32 riders waiting to take this race. Quick start from Tulovich, slow start from Senna Agius on the 81 machine, and it looks like Peter Beerkerski has been able to make a good start down into big crash. And you can see their big instant on the run down in towards turn 1. A lot of riders coming close to one another on that run. We'll wait and see what happens from that, but very easy for an instant on a 32 rider field on the run in towards turn 1. As you can see, though, Lucas Tulovich able to be nice and clean at the front of the field, leading from Beerkerski. And then looks like we've got Javi Cardaluz trying to claim his first race victory of his career in the Moto2 European Championship.
Yeah, that was a nasty accident off the start line. Hopefully those involved are okay.
It looks like it was Tommaso Marcon and also Miguel Pons. That was from the 4th row of the grid for those 2 riders.
That's not the start they wanted, but let's hope they're okay. We're down into turn 6. Lucas Tulovich got the whole shot ahead of Beerkerski. Javi Cardaluz coming through up into 3rd place on the number 18. It's the 81 of Senna Agius. We've got a red flag, Steve.
Yeah, red flag has just been put out, and the riders are going to see it as they come through the next marshal post. You can see those red flags and the yellow there as well, just to let them know that there is that instant down in towards turn 1, but the riders are going to come straight back to the pits, and then we'll be able to get restarted down the line with a quick restart procedure once the instance has been cleared.
Oh.
And that looks like the MMR machine of Marcon. We saw obviously the contact between himself and Miguel Pons on the run down in towards turn 1, but it is very easy for that to happen, Kiko. When you get fast starting riders and someone maybe a little bit slower off the line, you can easily funnel together, and unfortunate there for both those riders, but hopefully they're okay after that big incident.
Let's hope so. Just looking at the front tyre, Steve, on that bike, it was absolutely destroyed. The bike went end over end going down the straight, but everyone will funnel back into pit lane, and they know the procedure for this. It's a lap 1 drama, 18 laps. It will be a full restart. Whether or not we'll get the full race distance or will be a little bit reduced, depending on the time schedule, let's see. But yeah, not a great start to the Moto2 race. Let's hope everyone's okay. Tulovich did what he needed to do, Steve. He got out of trouble, stayed out of trouble early on, and got down towards turn 1. And he will probably be unaware of what's actually happened. You see the rider down there being attended to. It was a hefty old fall that the marshals running, the red flag being waved in pit lane. So everyone will go back to the box, just calm down, relax, and just focus on the job in hand. These guys will be going out again, of course, soon. And they'll be talking to crew chiefs, to the managers, to the team around them, just about, you know, if there's someone got a poor start for Senna, he just say he's going to go back to the promo racing camp. He's going to say, look, I didn't get off the start very well. The ambulance is going down the front straight there. Senna is going to go back into the pit box and he's going to say, I didn't get off the line very well. What can we do to change it? It's all about what they can do. It won't be major setup changes, but it'll just be about perfecting things that maybe didn't go to plan in the first getaway.
Yeah, the one thing for Senna is at least he's going to take the restart from his original grid position. When the race is stopped so early in proceedings in the opening 3 laps of the race, you go back to the original grid positions, you reduce the lap count, and you're able to go from there. And you can see the rider getting attention. That looks like it's Tommaso down there in towards turn 1, but at least able to get the attention that he needs. And it was a big instant for Tommaso, and obviously we saw his bike, Kiko, and it was a big impact into the pit wall for the number 10 machine. But obviously the big thing is the state of the rider, and Tommaso able to get the attention that he needs there.
Absolutely, and he obviously he's down on the ground, but he was moving, so that's good to see. Let's hope that everyone is okay and it's not as bad as first thought. We've seen a couple of accidents like that in the past, Steve. Remember Janon Dew in World Supersport 2020 in Catalonia. He had a very similar incident with Patrick Hobbelsberger, I think it was back then. So these things do happen. Hopefully, thankfully, they're not a regular occurrence, and hopefully it's not too serious. But Tulovich, well, he's going to have to wait a little bit longer for that elusive first win, but let's see. Hopefully everyone okay in that. They're putting the grid numbers back out, so they are expecting a restart. That's always a great sign. Yeah,
well, we're going to be back underway pretty soon, you'd imagine, for the riders, and it will be to a reduced race. We're just seeing on our timing screens, it looks like it's going to be an 11-lap race, so 2/3 race distance basically for the Moto2 European Championship. You can see now Tommaso just about getting ready to be lifted onto the stretcher and then put back into the ambulance, and then he'll go to the medical centre, he'll be checked over fully, and hopefully then he'll be given the all clear.
This is Sam Wilford on screen, Steve. He's got the Triumph engine in this year. Well, he's going to have to do hard work again. He was lucky to actually, from where he was coming on the grid, from 29th on the grid, from the back in 10th, he was up in 16th, but he was very lucky to avoid all the chaos in front of him. So, unfortunately for him, he's going to have to do it all over again.
Yeah, we saw Wilf make a really good start to get himself up just on the verge of the points-paying positions. Also, interestingly, we saw that Hector Garzo was able to get himself all the way into the top 10 on the opening lap. So we're going to keep an eye on those riders during the course of the race once it restarts. Just seeing now the pit lane is going to open at 12:15, so that's about 9 minutes time. And it'll be a quick restart procedure, so the riders will do a siding lap to the grids. They'll be met by one of their mechanics, and then they'll be sent off on another siding lap then just to get ready for an 11-lap race.
Yeah, and that's the thing now. It's an 11-lap race. Does slightly change the dynamic a little bit. See that on the bottom of your screens here. Pit lane's open at 12:15, as we said, for an 11-lapper. But as you say, Steve, it will be a very quick restart procedure. And with 11 laps, it does change the dynamic of the race a little bit. Tommaso Marcon being lifted onto the stretch there, arms moving, thankfully moving. That's very, very good to see. So hopefully just a couple of precautionary checks, and Tommaso Marcon will be worse for wear. Let's hope that it's nothing too serious. But 11 laps, it becomes a little bit more of a sprint race now.
Yeah, it's a proper sprint race now, especially at the front of the field whenever you've got the likes of Xavi Cardluz trying to claim his first race victory. He's got, over 60 starts in the Moto2 European Championship. He's got World Championship experience, never claimed that race victory, regular front runner. You've got Lucas Tulovich from the pole position trying to claim his first race victory as well. Keep an eye on the left-hand side of the screen. There you can see the big incident. And for Tommaso, we saw him, it looked like he caught a little bit of a wheelie, and then as the bike came back down, it was just into the path of another rider, and couple of very, very lucky riders in that instant.
I tell you what, that bike flying around there. Yeah, Marcon doesn't get off. He clashes. Is it with the 331 of Ratov? Garcia, sorry. So look at the bike, just absolutely endoing over. And he's so lucky to get away with that. Very lucky went to the inside, actually, of the track, and thankfully not into the path of everyone else. That could have ended in a real disaster. But he's on the stretcher, he's in the ambulance, and he was moving. So thankfully, Tommaso Marcon being attended to. We've got great medics here at Estoril. It is a great facility for that. So wait and see what happens. But he was moving, so you know the race is getting underway. It doesn't look as serious as the images of the crash are believed to think.
Yeah, certainly, and it's going to be good to see that everyone's going to be able to get themselves back underway in this race. This is down into the pit box of Peter Beerkerski and also the 55 machine of Alex Toledo, and these are two riders, Kiko, that a lot's going to be expected of them this year, not least for Peter trying to claim his first race victory in the Moto2 class. Yeah,
it's not going to be a walk in the park for either of these two, that is for sure, but these two have got experience. As we said, Toledo is used to fighting for championships. Remember 2 years ago in the Stock 600 class, it was with Fermin Aldeguer, and on Peter Beerkerski, he's obviously got a good bike under him this year, and he's back from the World Championship. So, and also had a solid season last year, just tasting that first podium.
Yeah, for Peter, he was able to have his first ever front row start yesterday, so he's done a good job this weekend so far. And like you said though as well, Kiko, it's a surprise that he's still chasing that first podium, but 5th is the best result we've seen from him in the European Championship.
Hopefully we can get a podium out of him this weekend. I don't see any reason why not. He's looked good all weekend, right from Friday free practice through to warm-up. As you can see, the ambulance there will take Mark on to the medical centre, and if necessary for further checks, he'll go to the local hospital. But let's hope it doesn't come to that. But yeah, Mark on unlucky in his first start of the season.
Yeah, and certainly for Marcon, he's going to have lots of races through the course this season. We've got 7 rounds in the European Championship. It's unfortunate for him, though, that he has this incident on one of the double headers for the Moto2 class.
Yeah, and this is the thing, they do alternate this throughout the rest of the year. If you're new to us, then this weekend, the Junior GP class, which used to be the Moto3 class, still Moto3 bikes, but it's Junior GP this year. They only have 1 race, but we go to the next round. I think it's in Valencia in a few weeks' time, and it will probably be ETC who get the 1 race and 2 races for Moto2 and the Junior GP class. So they alternate, it all balances out come the end of it. And also, the Junior GP class will be supporting MotoGP at another point during the season.
Yeah, we'll be supporting them later in the year. We've seen it over the last few years, Misano being there racing. What's quite good for that is it actually gives a lot of the riders from the European Talent Cup an opportunity to step up and make their debuts in the world in the world stage on Moto3 machinery, and it's a great opportunity for them. And
for some of these teams, such as the Aspar team and the teams that do have the structure all the way to the World Championship, yes, that's the team here as well, but there's a couple more faces, a lot more experience in the World Championship paddock, and that's good as well for development.
Yeah, and certainly development is the key thing for a lot of these riders, and I think that's where it was really interesting that last year we saw Fermin Aldeguer step onto a Moto2 machine, the Boscasquero bike, and absolutely dominated. You're never quite sure what the level is in the Moto2 European Championship, because we've seen a lot of riders win this championship, make the move, and not really be able to make it stick. Whereas with Aldeguer, jumps onto a Moto E bike last year, was a front runner, jumps on to a Moto2 World Championship bike this year, pole position in his 3rd, 4th race of the season, immediately looks like a potential star.
Definitely one of the most naturally gifted riders in terms of pure raw talent. Aldeguer walked this paddock last year in Moto2 on the Boscasquero bike, the year before in Stock 600, so you know, Aldeguer, real star of the present. I think the future is even brighter for him, but he's already a star, like you say, a pole sitter. This is the Vision Track Academy. Michael Laverty is here this weekend. There he is with the shades on, looking cool and dapper as ever, isn't he, Michael Laverty? Busiest man in the sport.
Yeah, and you can see MLav there with the team, and they've got 3 riders in this field. The 25 bike there of Thomas Strudwick in this class as well, and certainly for that team, Kiko, it's great to see just the sheer level of involvement that they have. Brand new, and they came here straight away, look absolutely slick and professional.
Absolutely. I think we were walking through the paddock yesterday, Steve. We had a quick chat with Michael, actually, and you know, you see the trucks in the background, the hoarding in the garage, the structure in place, the manager at World Championship level, Taylor McKenzie. It's like a factory team. It really is a solid structure from top to bottom. Not only is it a team in the World Championship, but they've got the stepping stones, the British Talent Cup, here in the European Talent Cup, you've got here in the Moto2. So Michael Laverty working very, very hard to make the step from Britain, which we have seen time and time again can be difficult, coming to Europe. He's got that stepping stone procedure and process in place, and it's great for us seeing that talent such as Casey O'Gorman and Johnny Garness and Thomas Strudwick, who's been a front runner for many seasons over in the British Superbike paddock, get that chance in a championship which is finally going to be noticed in by the World Championships.
Yeah, and certainly for that Vision Track team, they've been able to do a good job in the European Talent Cup, but a couple of big crashes in the course of testing and practicing has left them a little bit on the back foot here in the Moto2 race, obviously on their stock machinery, but they've got a real opportunity this year. All these riders are going to get the opportunity to go out for the race now in the next couple of moments. We've got probably about 45 seconds until pit lane opens. Pit lane's only going to be open for 1 minute, so it's straight out. Get yourself to the grid and get yourself ready for a sprint race.
It's going to be a sprint race. Should we think that bike might be X Mark VDS by any chance?
I'll tell you what, those leathers look like they might be a little bit X as well, but certainly for a lot of these teams, they take their machinery from the World Championship whenever those teams are finished with them, and obviously now that we've got teams using the Triumph engine, it's a real opportunity for them out there as well. That's Alex Ruiz just heading out as well on his stock machine. Kiko, I like the variety in this class. Obviously, we've got the Triumphs at the front of the field with the likes of Lucas Tulovich. You've got the Honda engine in some bikes. You've obviously got the stock bikes out there as well. You can see the 47 there. That's Corey Tinkler just heading out. Sorry, Carter Thompson. Carter Brown, sorry, just heading out. I'll get there eventually on the Vision Track bike. He's out there on one of the stock machines, and I think it's always quite interesting whenever we see where everyone stacks up in the class.
In a way, finishing 5th in the Moto2 category, but finishing 7th in the Stock 6 category is a little bit better, because Stock 6, I think, you're not on the machinery that's going to win you a race. But if you can make it shine, then it says more about you as a rider, and that is the case with Firmin Aldeguer. He got that chance after taking the stock title in 2020. He got the chance in Boscoscuro for 2021, and last year he was already in the Grand Prix, and this year he's a pole sitter. So, you know, whilst it's not maybe seen as racing at the front, etc., there's some big talent down there.
Yeah, and there's some big talent all the way through the paddock here in the junior GP classes, and it's good to see in the Moto2 class young riders coming in and instantly getting to the front of the field. That's what we saw with San Aegis. You can see there an instant on the run down in towards turn 6 already just on the siding lap. It looked like it was 2 teammates, and it looked like it might have been Alex Ruiz and one of the other Faubel team riders, and they came a bit too close to one another on the run down into 6.
Yeah, and I think it was one of the Vision Track Yamahas as well on the inside of turn 7. So the sighting lap has got a bit of drama too. It was good for Moto2. We needed it. We've been asking for drama, probably not on the sighting lap, but if we can have a bit more of that, then in the race, game on.
Yeah, and you can see all of the mechanics on the grid, so they're going to greet their riders, give the bike a quick look to make sure that everything's okay, and then the riders will go out for the sighting lap to the grid, and then we'll be underway for a 12-lap race. But certainly, Kiko, the quick restart procedure, for some riders, this could be the first time they've had to go through it, but it does speed things up. It's a really good change that we saw a couple of years ago. Yeah,
it's been a welcome addition. It keeps everything on schedule. It keeps the riders, it saves them from waiting. We don't do all the grid procedure again. It is literally quick restart. One mechanic will meet the rider on the grid. I think they get a minute, they clear off, the lights will go out for the warm-up lap, they come back and the race is on. Tulovich stopping in style down to his pole.
Yeah, quick restart procedure, so we get a reduced race distance, we got everyone able to get underway nice and quickly, and that means we're able to keep the schedule, because at the top of the hour we've got the main act going off in the Moto3 style bikes in the junior GP class, and that really is the one that a lot of people will be looking towards. But keep an eye on the action here in the Moto2 European Championship as well. We've already mentioned about what we saw last year with Firmin Aldeguer, but also look at Alonso Lopez. He's been able to get the chance to step up to the World Championship after Romano Fenati was sacked by his team. So it does show the opportunities that you're going to have if you're able to run at the front of the field here in the Moto2 class. And that's where, for the likes of Lucas Tulovich, it's absolutely critical to finally claim that first race victory. He's been strong in the Moto E class as well, but for him, he's been a Moto2 European Championship rider for the last few years, and with 55 starts under his belt, he wants that first win.
He should be getting this first win. He can't surely wait any longer. He's got the pole. As we said earlier, 3 poles. All 3 of his pole positions have come at this track here at Estoril. So he is a circuit specialist, so if he wins here, it wouldn't be a surprise, but it would be a surprise if he completely dominates. He should be but we're not expecting a domination season like we've had in the last couple of years.
Yeah, I think it's one of those situations where until we get underway this year, we're not going to know fully what to expect. But for the likes of Tulovich, he's one of the most experienced riders out there. There's only Javi Cardelus has started more races in this class, but for Cardelus, he's also chasing that first race victory. When you look down the grid, it's the likes of Hector Garzo on the number 4 machine that's worth keeping an eye on from the back of the field. Hector's been a race winner in this class in the past. He's got World Championship experience, and he's even finished on the Moto2 World Championship podium. So he's a rider to keep an eye on. In the initial start, the MV Augusta rider was able to come from the very back of the field into the top 10 on the opening lap. So he knows exactly what he has to do once again.
It's I feel like we're going to see something similar, but I would be very impressed if he gets any further. Talk about Hector Garzo, he's got to come right from back. Same as Sam Wilford, unfortunately. That's a bit of a shame for the Brits on the AGR Triumph Moto2 bike. He was actually meant to be in the top 10, but for one infringement or another, down in 29th, so he's got a bit of work to do. He was on the fringes of the points after the first start, so hopefully Big Bad Wolf can make his way right the way through the field.
Yeah, he's going to have his work cut out to be able to do that, but Wilford with a lot of experience in this class, and certainly a rider that you would expect to be able to see plenty of progress from. His career best finish is a top 6, so for this season the goal for him has to be to consistently get himself up into those leading positions, try and come away with a few top 5 finishes. The target for the riders at the front of the field, though, is to try and claim that first race victory. We've got Lukas Tulovich on the number 3 machine. He's going to start from pole position. Senna Agius on the number 81 machine. He's going to start from 2nd on the grid, making his debut having stepped up from the Moto3 Junior World Championship last year. And on the outside of the front row, Peter Beerkerski is going to start on the number 74 machine from the front row for the first time.
Can Tulovich convert it, Steve? What are we saying?
I think if you were putting your money on the table right now, Tulovich has been strong all the way through this weekend on the number 3 machine. He's the rider to beat, but anything can happen, especially over a 12-lap sprint race duration for these Moto2 riders. The field waits for the red flag to clear at the front, and then we'll be able to get underway for 12 laps of action here. Second time of asking for the Moto2 European Championship. They await the start of their 2022 campaign. Lukas Tulovich on pole position. It's a quick start from Tulovich, a much better start from Senna Agius this time around, and he's been able to hold on to one of those leading positions. It looks like we've got Alex Toledo with a really good start as well down the inside.
And Beerkerski up into 2nd, so Beerkerski got the job done. Well, we all through cleanly, a couple of riders out wide, but yes, this time we have a clean start. Tulovich and Beerkerski at the front, the German from the pole.
Senna Agius on the 81 into 3rd position. You can see Xavi Cardelus. It was Alex Skrieg able to make that fast start into 4th position, then Cardelus, and then it's Toledo on the 55. So we've got a clean start for the Moto2 class in today's running, and a little bit further down the field we've got the stock machinery out there as well. Chris Saiba leading the way on his Yamaha machine.
Tulovich out front, got a gap of about 0.4 of a second, but it's purely academic at this stage of the race. Bit of battling going on further down, 4 abreast. That isn't going to work into turn 6, but it does somehow.
4 abreast into turn 6, but look at the number 4, the MV Augusta there of Hector Garzo trying to have a run around the outside. He's already up into the points paying positions from the back of the grid, and Hector Garzo trying to move himself into the top 10. He's up in about 12th position right now. At the front of the field, though, they're starting to see a little bit of a gap developing between Senna Agius and Alex Skrieg. So Alex is going to have to dig in on that number 11 machine to try and close down that gap. Xavi Cardelus has lost a spot to Alex Toledo on the 55, so Toledo able to move himself up into 5th position, and Cardelus has lost a bit of ground straight away.
Yeah, he has. He's lost a little bit of ground. He made a good start in the first encounter. Not such a good start in this second one so far on the restart. Good point from race direction. No jump starts. Tulovich did get a bright start. I thought he maybe have jumped it, but he didn't. The 81 of Agius, Senna Agius coming through there on the inside of Beerkerski. Does he get the job done? Yes, he does, and nicks all the poles breaking area as well.
Yeah, really good riding there from Senna Agius. He's been looked after in the past by Leon Camure, of course, both riders from Andorra, and Camure did a lot of training with Agius over the last few years, and of course Camure now the Honda World SBK team manager, but Senna, having stepped onto a Moto2 machine for the first time, instantly looks at ease with it. but no one's looking more at ease right now than Tulo out in front. Lucas Tulovich has opened up a gap of a second to Senna Agius. So for Agius, for Beerkerski, both riders trying to claim their first podium finishes, they need to make sure that they're able to hold on to those positions.
Crash in the background at turn 4. Didn't see who that was. It was someone further down the order around the 14th place mark. We'll keep an eye on that. Oh, it's Garzo!
Hector Garzo, the number 4 machine, having come from the back of the field after a penalty for qualifying infringement. Hector Garzo down and out at the second lap here. We'll catch a replay of what happened. Keep an eye on the number 4.
He's just going to tuck the front. I'm sure it's greasy out there. Oh, did he tuck the front or did he lose the rear and it just spun around on him? We couldn't quite see that, but Hector Garzo, wow, what a return to the Moto2 European Championship for him. With 2 laps in, he's already in the gravel.
Yeah, easily done through there, just push a little bit too hard. The limit is the limit for a reason, and Senna Agia is doing a good job right now finding that limit. He's closing down Lucas Tulovich on this lap.
Yeah, at the moment it's a couple of hundreds, but let's see what it is going to be in the next couple of laps. He can't afford to leave it too long, of course, it's reduced race distance, but Tulovich out front so far from Agius. Agius fastest sector 3. What was his lap time? Fastest lap of the race, 2. Tulovich, and does pull it back a little bit in sector 4. So good stuff from Tulovich, 39.6.
Yeah, Agius on the second half of the lap, stronger than Tulovich. Tulovich pushing hard here in the early stage of this race, trying to make sure he's able to open that gap. He doesn't want to give up this position. He wants his first race victory. But Senna Agius, really impressive stuff from the Australian to be this quick, this soon on a Moto2 machine. Really, he's hit the ground running.
He had that first front row, the first for Australia since Barcelona 2016. It was Remy Gardner then, and we all know that's the 31 of Roberto Garcia. Now, we saw him in that replay of the crash with Garzo cruising just off the race 9 going into turn 4. So I wonder what's happened there for the Spaniard, the rookie Spaniard in this class. But as we were saying, yeah, Remy Gardner's career went one way after a strong season in the Moto2 European Championship 6 years ago that Australia's had to wait to find the next talent coming through. And it looks like it's a good one.
Yeah, it's Senna doing a really good job in the 81. That's Beerkerski on the 74 machine, the Polish rider, out in front of, I think it looked like it was Javi Cardalus now up into 4th position. Cardalus trying to move himself onto the podium. He's had podium finishes in the past, still trying to claim that first race victory though on the number 18 machine. And for Javi, he's always been strong in this class. He's always been a front runner in the European Championship, but unable to claim that first race victory. But he's got so much experience, Kiko. 66 starts in the European Championship, and for him, he's also got a couple of years under his belt in World Championship action, including he's already been out in the World Championship this season as well.
He has. He's plenty of experience. He's just got to use it to get to the podium. Tulovich, at the moment, looking like he's going to take the first win of his career in this class in the braking area, but Senna Agius was again quicker in sector 3. Fastest lap for Tulovich, so 39.4. He's laying down the benchmark.
Yeah, he's thrown down a gauntlet to the rest of the field, and he's doing a really good job. Last time around, he pulled out another quarter of a second on Senna Agius. Agius, though, he's been able to open up a gap of 2.5 seconds to Beerkerski. So for both of these riders, it's now going to be just a case of trying to settle yourself in, hold your momentum, and try and make sure that you're able to be mistake-free all the way through, because a race victory for Tulovich is a great start to the season. A podium for Senna Agius would be a fantastic start to the campaign for him as he jumps onto Moto2 machinery for that first time. Behind, though, you can see Beerkerski now coming under pressure. That's where the battle is right now, and it's for 3rd position with Javi Cardalus closing down the Polish rider. And last time around, we saw that Cardalus was half a second faster than Peter, so he's certainly going to be the rider on the move right now.
Just look at the 8th place. Great stuff from Sam Wilford up into 8th from 29th on the grid. We said watch out for him. He's doing very, very good so far for the AGR team. Triumph Moto2 machine. But this is the battle at the moment. Beerkerski holding on from Cardalus. Cardalus won't need to try anything too desperate at this point. There's still 8.5 laps to go, so Cardalus can settle in and just follow. See where Beerkerski's stronger. See where Cardalus himself is a bit stronger. There's no need to make rash passes at this stage of the race.
Yeah, the Moto2 class, very different to the European Talent Cup or the Junior GP classes, where it's helter-skelter action all the way. In the Moto2 class, it's all about trying to make sure you're able to keep a cool head, make your moves without costing yourself time, and then try and hunt down the next rider. This is a class where being able to find a couple of tenths of a second is a real challenge, and that's why it's impressive that at the front of the field, lap after lap, Tulovich pulled back another quarter second on Senna Agius. The gap now 1.7 seconds, so he's doing a good job of being nice and consistent right now. For Beerkerski, what does he have to do right now as well, Kiko?
Just got to ride his own race, really. There's no point getting too defensive right now. Beerkerski's just got to know where he's strong. Estoril, there isn't too many hard braking areas. There's a couple, turn 6 is one of them, turn 1's another. But apart from that, there's no big stops. There are obviously braking areas, but there's no big stops where a pass is very obvious in this class. So turn 6 is one of them. Cardo's got to run through turn 5 as he look in. He's having a look on the brakes, thinks better of it. So that's one overtaking area. Turn 7's another one if you can get a run out of this one. But generally, most moves will be made down in towards turn 1. And Beerkerski looking good so far, riding his own race. Oh, turn 7's not past an overtake. What am I on about?
Yeah, Carlos able to make that move there. It's downhill, it's narrow through there. It does tend to open the door for an attack down into the chicane. We'll see if Beerkerski's able to get close enough.
Yes.
He is able to attack. And Pete the Pole certainly knows that he doesn't have the speed right now to be able to hold off Carlos. So any time that Carlos comes through, for Beerkerski, he's going to have to try and make those moves straight away. Both of these riders, Kiko, still using the old Honda engine, so they certainly know the bike that's underneath them.
They do indeed, and they know the tyres that are underneath them as well. The Dunlops, of course, right, coming through from the World Championship. Interesting though, they wouldn't have ridden these bikes in these temperatures at this track this weekend. It is the hottest it has been. Cardelus alongside Beerkerski.
And Cardelus on the 18 trying to get down the inside into turn 1. He's able to take the high line and he's able to make the move nice and clean. But for Beerkerski now, he needs a good drive on the exit of turn 1, try and set up a move down in towards turn 3. But he's not going to be close enough right now. And for Beerkerski, this is where it gets tricky now, because we've seen Cardelus half a second a lap faster than. That's why Beerkerski on the 74 looks a little bit ragged now. He knows he has to make the move soon. So he needs to hold as close as he can through the left-hander now at turn 6 to try and set himself up through the slingshot and down in towards the hairpin at turn 7. So this is a big opportunity for Beerkerski. If he doesn't make the move now, it's going to be very difficult to get through in Cardelus at any stage. Yeah,
I think Cardelus now has just got that bit of momentum. He's just put in enough distance in between himself and Beerkerski. And Beerkerski's got to look at it as if to say, look, we've got another race later. There's no point throwing the bike down the road and destroying a bike, and 13 points are better than none, and that's got to be his mentality. Although he's gobbling up Cardelus in some of the braking areas, he's right back with him again. And we saw a move here a lap ago. This is where Beerkerski's strong, but he's not close enough this time. Yeah,
and for Beerkerski, if this is the area of the track he's strong, he needs to be as close as possible coming into the chicane, because you can see they're dead stop for these riders all the way back to first gear for the slowest corner on the entire calendar of the Moto2 European Championship. And for Beerkerski, he's on course for his career best result. In the past it was 5th position, so 4th spot right now for Beerkerski. Cardelus, he's had podiums in the past. His best result though, only 3rd spot as well, so he's trying to hold on for another podium at the front of the field. Tulovich and Agius still opening up their gap. It's 2.7 seconds now that Tulovich has in hand. Another few tenths of a second last time around for him.
Interestingly, Beerkerski couldn't get a job done on Cardelus down the straight, the slipstream not working to the pole's advantage. Back in the background, a little bit wide for Toledo, and a Skrieg will be coming through for him in a moment. Further back, this is the top stock 600 rider, Alex Ruiz on the Yamaha. He's looking good in 9th place overall for the number 12. Good ride, Steve.
Yeah, and for Ruiz, just to give a little bit of an illustration of the challenge that these stock riders have of trying to be able to hold on to these leading positions. Last time around, he was 4 seconds slower than the race winner, the race leader, Lucas Tulovich, and indeed the gap between himself and Sam Wilford, it's stretched out now, because Wilford, he's 2.5 seconds a lap faster, so certainly that stock battle is going to be key. But for Ruiz, he's got a comfortable lead in hand over the next best stock rider. 4 bikes between him and Chris Scheiber.
Yeah, this is Senna just on screen, number 81, the Australian rookie this year. Good front row qualifying from him yesterday, and it looks like, with 5.5 laps to go, a solid 2nd place finish at Estoril to start his season. We didn't expect this, Steve. We didn't think that Senna Agius would be one of the ones to watch. We always know that rookies can cause a surprise, but we didn't quite expect a surprise quite this big.
Yeah, looking at the entry lists coming into this weekend, I was a little bit surprised to see Senna on a Moto2 bike, only 16 years of age, but he's really adapted well to it. When we went trackside earlier in the weekend, he looked at ease on the Moto2 bike right from the outset. And for a rider that had a career best result of 13th in the Moto3 class, I think it's a real sign of just the kind of talent he has. That's Peter Beerkerski able to take that 3rd spot. We didn't quite catch where the move happened, but he's been so strong in the run into the chicane that you'd certainly expect it was in the second half of the lap. But Cardelus now trying to collect his thoughts, try and close back onto the back of the 74 machine and try and attack him. But for Cardelus, he's going to see that clock's going to tick down, and it does tick down fast in a sprint race. Only a 12-lap race here, so we're well into the second half of proceedings. Yeah, and
anything can happen. We don't know what Beerkerski was doing earlier. He might have just been sandbagging a little bit tyre life maybe coming into it with this race. Probably not with 11 or 12 lap races, but the temperatures are up, and maybe it was just about discovering what the track's like, and Cardelus maybe having a bit more confidence than Beerkerski. This is the battle for 5th. This is Estoril. He has now got ahead of Toledo, so that is up into 5th place for Estoril on the Yamaha Philippines Styler bike team, ahead of the 55 of the Pertamina Mandalika bike of Toledo.
Yeah, just in front of that, for last time around, teammate to Toledo is, of course, Peter Beerkerski. It was a new personal best last time around, so he is coming into his pace now as well. Last time around, he was a half a second faster than Cardelus. That's why he was able to make the move. But certainly for Beerkerski, we'll keep an eye on what his times are now, because he's put in another personal best in Sector 3. So as the race has progressed, as the tyres have gone down a little bit, he has come into his own, and he's doing a really good job right now.
Some riders just need that opening few laps, Steve, just to get into their rhythm as well. We don't know if Beerkerski is one of them riders. We normally see him battling around 5th or 6th. This year he's made a step, so that's great to see. And yeah, he's clearly looking comfortable on the bike, so hope I've not just cursed him, but he looks very good, as does Cardelus as well. He's not making too many errors, not running too wide right there in 4th place. I must say, Estoril has dropped Toledo pretty quickly. The gap between them about 3/4 of a second. So Estoril versus Toledo, Escoril's made it look easy, and he's gapped him straight away.
Yeah, and Estoril into 5th position, and last time around he was on the same sort of pace as the podium guys as well, so he's trying to make sure he's able to close that gap down. Then he's got clear track in front of him on that number 11 machine. The gap between himself and Cardelus is 1.6 seconds, but he was only able to pull back a 10th of a second last time around. But now you can see he's starting to push harder. He's really starting to press on with that Honda engine machine.
Just outside the top 6, Steve, Wilford has made a move up into 7th place out of Mattia Ratto. And yeah, very good stuff from Wilf from the back row of the grid for race 1 of the Moto2 class, up into 7th. Solid start to his season.
Yeah, and for him, of course, it is a case of making that step that he needs to make this year. He's got a lot of experience. He's been racing here for 3 years now, having come across from the British Supersport paddock. But for Wilford, it's critical that he's able to try and make that big step to turn those top 10 finishes into top 5 finishes.
Just at the front, Lucas Tulovich is metronomic. Lap times around the 39.4s, 39.5s, just dropped into the 39.6s last time round. Still 3.5 tenths quicker than Senna Aegis, more or less. So very good stuff from your race leader.
Yeah, just getting a notification as well for any of the junior GP fans. It looks like there's going to be a slight delay to the program. Haven't had that red flag here in the Moto2 class. Looks like it's about 15 minutes behind schedule now for the junior GP. So you'd imagine it'll be a 1:15 start for the big class here in the junior GP paddock. But look at Cardelus just using all the racetrack on the run down in towards the right-hander, and he is pushing hard now at this stage on that number 18 machine. Last time around he was faster than Beerkerski, so he is trying to reel him in. Alex Estoril, though, was the fastest of all 3 of these riders. That's why he's just gradually bringing himself closer and closer to Cardelus. This is the race leader, Lucas Tulovich, and pretty much every lap so far he's been the fastest rider on the racetrack, and he just keeps edging himself that little bit further clear. It's 4.3 seconds between himself and Senna Aegis, and Tulovich, this is his chance, this is his day to potentially win his first Moto2 European Championship race. He's been such a consistent front runner, Kiko, but now he knows he's got the opportunities.
Yeah, and he looks at one with the bike as well. He's riding it like, he's getting on with it. It doesn't look like hard work for him. He's looking wheels in line. He's making all the apexes. And in a way, he's looking a bit loose in places. But some riders like that, and that shows that you are comfortable. This is into the braking area of turn 1. You can see the bike skipping around into the braking area. Tulovich just tips it in, and he's looking good. He's looking very, very calm, cool, and collected on that bike. This is the number 8 on the Senna Aegis. First time we get to look at him in slow-mo in depth on a Moto2 bike. Again, another one, Steve. That's where we was watching on Saturday. Looking good, looking at one, looking comfortable.
Yeah, Senna Aegis looking nice and comfortable out there. And Kiko, just the differences between the Triumph engine bikes and the Honda engine bikes. Obviously, there's more electronics on Tulovich's bike. In these conditions, how much of a benefit could that be for him?
Well, electronics on a greasy track will...
Oh, it's Beerkerski! And that looks like it's down to turn 1.
Well, that's what the electronics difference is.
We'll wait and see what happened to Peter Beerkerski, but that's devastating for the Polish rider. He's been so strong all the way through this weekend. He had his first ever career front row start, and he was in position there to try and hold on to a podium spot. It also looks like Xavi Cardelus is down the order as well. He lost spots. He's down to 8th position, so maybe he's been involved in that as well. We'll wait and see whether Cardelus has been able to get going as well. He hasn't either. Both riders are down. And you wouldn't be surprised to see another red flag here. The red flag is out.
That'll be that.
Lucas Tulovich is a race winner for the first time in the Moto2 European Championship. But we saw a big crash there, potentially down into turn 1. Xavi Cardelus and Peter Beerkerski were fighting it out for the podium spot in 3rd position. And both of those riders crashing and bringing out the red flag. That's going to mean Alex Estoril is going to finish up there on the podium. And for Alex, that's his first career podium. Good to see Cardelus up.
Yeah, that is Cardelus. Yeah, that is Cardelus. I just wonder if Cardelus has outbraked himself. We'll wait for a replay if we get one. But judging where Cardelus was, he was a long way past the corner. Has he been T-boned, I wonder. Let's hope Beerkerski's moving, but yeah, he's down on the ground and in pain. Tulovich, well, this is an all-new procedure for him. Which way does he go? He's used to seeing number 3, not just on his bike, but also in Parc Ferme. This time, he's going to be on the number 1.
He had 9 podiums before today for Lucas Tulovich, and all of them in 3rd position. He was so strong and consistent last year, but he just wasn't close enough to be able to fight Alonso and Fermin Aldeguer on a week-in, week-out basis. But finally, Tulovich is a race winner. He's a rider with lots of experience in the Moto2 class. He's had 55 starts in the European Championship. He also raced in the World Championship for a couple of seasons. And finally, he breaks his duck. He claims his first race victory in the European Championship. So he's going to be thrilled with that. His team are going to be thrilled with that. And he's joined on the podium by Senna Agius, such an impressive rider. And also Alex Toledo on the 55. Looks like he's down there in Parc Ferme as well. So Toledo able to claim his first podium finish. And we'll wait and see the full shakedown of the results, because right now it does look like Rato is up in 4th position, and then Alex Estoril is in 5th on our timing screens. But we have to wait for full confirmation of those results, just to see whether there was a bit of a shakeout from any of the riders during the course of that crash incident. But certainly for everyone out there right now, they will be able to know that the one thing to take for sure is Lucas Tulovich is finally a race winner in the Moto2 European Championship. Just seeing a notification now as well on our timing screens that Cardelus and Peter Beerkerski have been given the rider OK notification. We did see Beerkerski moving down there at turn 1 after that crash for him, and that's good to see. And for these Moto2 riders, they're going to be back in action in a few hours' time for the final race of the day here in Estoril. And Tulovich is going to be keen to get himself out there and claim a race victory once again. But he's going to remember today for a long time. Finally, Lucas Tulovich is a race winner in the Moto2 European Championship at the 56th time of asking. The German rider finally gets it done, and great to see for him and for his team down there as well. Let's see Senna Agius down there just giving his feedback to Leon Camier on the right. We said earlier on, Camier of course a mentor to Senna, and Senna doing a really good job jumping on to a Moto2 bike for the first time, and looks like he's using Parc Ferme as a time to give the team the feedback when it's as fresh as possible in his mind. So he's taking the right approach to getting everything up to speed on those Moto2 machines. But a really impressive debut ride for him. And you can see there a smile from Leon Camier. He knows the talent that Senna Agius had. It, certainly last year, whenever he was in the Moto3 class, wasn't really able to show it as much as he was expecting. And certainly in the Moto2 bike, he's doing a really good job on that to be able to show what he can do. We're seeing there that Alex Estoril is down in Parc Ferme on that number 11 machine. So our timing screens have him down as 5th position, but obviously bit of a shake-up with the red flags, and he was running up there in 3rd position or in 5th position behind Cardelus and Peter Beerkerski before the crash. So he's now been elevated up to 3rd position now as the results start to filter in from race direction, and it'll be Alex Toledo that's in 4th position then as well. Sam Wilford coming from the back of the grid, able to come away with a top 6 finish. That's equaling his career best result, and good effort there from Wilford. And he'll at least be able to go from his original starting position in race 2 this afternoon. That's going to be from the 3rd row of the grid, so we'll see what he can do on the Triumph engine machine. But this is Lukas Tulovich celebrating his first race victory in the Moto2 class. And what a race victory it was as well. He was able to hit the front and just edge away from everyone else all the way through this race. A couple of tenths of a second here, a couple of tenths of a second there, and it all added up over 10 laps to leave him 5 seconds clear at the point of the red flag. So really impressive stuff from Tulovich to be able to take that race victory. An action-packed race for the Moto2 class. Obviously, we saw a red flag earlier on as well after a clash. But for Lukas Tulovich, it was all about the checkered flag, and he's able to take it as a race winner in the Moto2 European Championship for the first time.
Lukas Tulovich, 9 podiums before, all in 3rd place, but finally a victory. Well done.
I mean, last year I had a victory in Moto E after a long time, which felt fantastic in Austria, and we worked so hard this pre-season. The team did fantastic. I'm so happy and glad for this opportunity. We made a fantastic pre-season, and I'm always fast here in Estoril, and I felt great all weekend. So thank you so much to everybody of my team, my sponsors, my family, my trainer. We kicked my ass all winter for reach this level, and this one is for my mom because today is Mother's Day.
And in German.
Thank you. In German. Ja, es war fantastisch. Letztes Jahr habe ich in der Moto E ein Rennen gewonnen in Österreich nach langer Zeit, was sich großartig angefühlt hat, und ich muss dem Team ein riesen Dankeschön aussprechen für diese Möglichkeit dieses Jahr. Alle Sponsoren, mein Trainer, meine Familie, die mir das ermöglicht haben. Wir haben so hart diesen Winter gearbeitet, um dieses Level zu erreichen. Also riesen Dankeschön an alle, und Mama, der Sieg ist für dich. Heute ist Muttertag. Thank you.
Well done.
Lukas Tulovich, very pleased with his performance today, no doubt. And you can see there, that's still Peter Beerkerski getting attention, just waiting to be put onto a stretcher. And unfortunately, we saw that sight earlier on as well with Marcon, and the initial start also involved in a big crash. But for Beerkerski, he has come up as being okay and conscious, so we'll be able to hopefully get him able to get to the medical centre as quickly as possible. Big shame for the Polish rider though, because he's been so strong through the course of this weekend, taking his first ever front row start in the European Championship and able to battle it out at the front as well. You can see there now just being lifted into the ambulance. He'll be taken straight to the medical centre, given a checkup, and then hopefully he'll be cleared to be released. But obviously enough with another race this afternoon. There's a big question mark whether or not he'll be able to take the start of that race. But for him, the big thing's going to be just to try and make sure that he's able to get himself as fit as possible for the rest of this season as well, because it is a long season in the Moto2 class. We got 7 rounds for these riders, and we basically travel across the Iberian Peninsula all the way. But in the Moto2 class, it was Lukas Tulovich starting from pole position, and he was able to convert that into the whole shot at the start of the race. In the initial start, though, was Tommaso Marcon with this big crash that brought out the red flag. Marcon was able to be taken away to the medical centre and was moving and okay. The race was restarted, and it was a 12-lap sprint race with Tulovich on pole and able to make a good start once again to convert that into the whole shot. Senna Agius with a much better start in the second race, and he was able to convert that into 3rd position into turn 1, but he was quickly able to pick off Peter Beerkerski, move him up into 2nd spot and try and hunt down Tulovich. At the front of the field, Tulovich opened up a gap by a 10th of a second here, a 10th of a second there, to stretch out a lead that would eventually be 5 seconds at the checkered flag. Senna Agius was able to use the slipstream to move clear of Peter Beerkerski, and once clear, he was able to open up a big gap to take 2nd spot on his debut in the Moto2 European Championship. Hector Garzo isn't making his debut. He's got plenty of experience, but he was caught out on the opening laps. He'll have the opportunity to get back in action on that number 4 MV Augusta this afternoon, though. Tulovich on the Triumph-engined Calyx machine was able to claim the race victory after a red flag came out in the closing stages after a big crash between Tulovich and Xavi Cardellus. 'Cardellus. 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 ' So a first ever Moto2 European Championship victory for Lukas Tulovich. Kiko, it's been a long time coming, but he was pretty pleased with himself down in Park Ferme.
You could tell it was his first one, Steve. He didn't know quite how the procedure was down there, but a very good start indeed to the 2022 Moto2 season for Tulovich. This is the podium for the stock race, so I believe, oh no, it's not, it is the podium for Moto2. Toledo in third, didn't quite tell with the leathers, that was the problem there. So Toledo's third, second place going to Senna Aegis, and on top of the box for the first time in a long time. He said it in the interview, the Moto2 win last year, that was it, but here in the Moto2 European Championship, it's been a long time coming. 9 podiums, all of which have been thirds, 3 poles, all of which have been at Estoril. At last, it has been a victory for Lukas Tulovich, and Germany on top. Again, a great team there, the Liquimoli Intec Junior GP team. They got a stepping stone right the way through the paddock. Here as well in the ETC and in the Junior GP and in Moto2, and then obviously the Moto2 team on the World Championship stage. So great to see that the stepping stone is starting to work, and great to see a good team putting in all that effort being rewarded. Tulovich with the winner's trophy for the first time in the Moto2 European Championship. It's a moment to savour for him. We'll hear the German national anthem right now.
First victory for Lukas Tulovich, and one he's going to remember for a long time. Really impressive performance all the way through this weekend, Kiko.
Yeah, he's been looking like the one to do it, say. He's been the one on Friday free practice who's looked very cool, calm and collected. He eased to a third pole position at the circuit, and it's time to get busy with the Prosecco. It's a great start to proceedings for Tulovich this season, and to be quite honest, would we be surprised if it continued a little bit further? We'd be surprised with the domination, but I think Tulovich is the man to beat this year, Steve. He's looking at very good packages. Obviously more to come from Senna Aegis, who finished second, but Tulovich, we kind of knew he was the one who had the target.
He's the rider with the experience, he's the rider with the Triumph engine as well, and he's got the team behind him. That Intact GP team always very competitive, but you got to get the job done, and he got the job done today. Really good ride from Tulovich, and certainly we're going to see more of the same from him all the way through this season. But for Lukas Tulovich, finally that first race victory in the Moto2 European Championship, and he was able to claim it under pretty tough circumstances with 2 red flags for these riders to deal with. Senna Aegis able to claim a podium spot on his debut in the Moto2 class. Alex Eskrig able to take advantage of that crash in the closing stages for Peter Beerkerski, and Xavi Cardelus to claim his first podium finish. Sam Wilford elevated up into the top 5. That's a career best performance from the British rider. Looking further down the order, Alex Ruiz was able to claim the stock class victory, and Dino Iozzi up there as well with Chris Scheibe on his Yamaha machine, rounding out the stock podium. Our championship standings echo the race results. Lukas Tulovich is up there leading the standings from Senna Aegis, and then Alex Eskrig. points all the way down to 15th position in your class. Obviously enough, in a class like this where you're mixed up with the stock riders, there's some riders that were outside the top 15 that will score Moto2 class points. And that runs all the way down to Giannico on his MV Augusta in 13th spot. We should get the stock class podium there. That's Ruiz claiming the race victory. And it's going to be one that Alex Ruiz is going to remember as well, because this was a big performance by him to be able to claim that podium spot. Up there on the podium as well is Dino Iozzi and Chris Scheibe as well. Impressive rides in the stock class from these guys as well, Kiko. And now we're going to get the chance to see the results from the stock class. You can see Alex Ruiz leading the way in the stock subclass from Iozzi, Scheibe, Kevin Orgis up there inside the top 5. Thomas Strudwick on that Vision Track machine also scoring points. Today is going to be remembered for a couple of big crashes that led to red flags, but it's also going to be remembered as the morning when Lucas Tulovich finally became a race winner in the Moto2 European Championship. He's going to have to do it all again this afternoon in the final race of the day later on in the Moto2 class.